Hello, everyone. It's your favourite goth boy, Steve. I hope you're all well. Not that I really expect an answer, but you can reply in our DMs. We're really open for anyone to talk to in this pandemic hellscape we're currently living in. On this episode, we have our manager, Ashley Currie, and it's probably the most informative and interesting podcast we've done and will probably ever do. So, hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you all soon. Kisses. Hello again, Internet. It's episode 2 of season 2 of the Wolves Don't Sleep official podcast. Today, we've got a special guest. It's not the guy from Blue Peter, nor is it the guy doing meth on Art Attack. It is the one and
It's
only...
Craig backwards.
It's Craig backwards. No, it's not. It's Ashley motherfucking Currie from Vantablack and Enso Music Management, aka the bloke who is our actual paid babysitter.
Actual paid babysitter. I love that. I'm your adult babysitter, which couldn't sound more like a euphemism.
That's basically what band managers are. It's just babysitting man children.
Well, I mean, if we're going to go back onto the conversation about introducing you to Danny Filth, then like I would become your babysitter at that point, because it'd either turn out to be like he'd completely love and adore you, or there'd be a restraining order in place. So it's a gamble.
Both are hilarious stories we can sell to.
I'd be willing to take a bet on that.
Because we can sell both of those stories to Metal Hammer of why did this vocalist from some shit metalcore band that no one cares about get given a restraining order by Danny Filth? Instant views, instant clicks. Like
either way, it's a win-win scenario, because if you get loved by Danny Filth and he takes you under his wing and kind of like turns you into one of his like little love children, then that's a win-win story. But if he puts a restraining order on you and you kind of come out as the goth boy that harassed Danny Filth, it's another win-win situation.
Yeah, like I can't lose either way. It's like when I said years and years and years ago, if I ever got the chance, I'd take a pop at Axl Rose for no other reason. Like I quite like Axl Rose, but just the chance,
I'm not his biggest fan.
Well, the
to
lawsuits.
run up and just pop him one.
Yeah,
I mean, it's one way to make an impression. Yeah, sure.
I'd like to spear somebody with authority. So like Trump, like when he's doing one of his speeches or something like that, and just kind of like giving the people's elbow or DDT through his podium.
I think bullying Trump's like old news. Like bullying Trump's like old news now. Like we've got to move on to the next person to bully, because Trump's it's
Discount Trump, Boris.
discount. Yeah, I'd okay.
Boris bullies himself by just being him.
Not existing.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
we went like me and my mates when we get onto some really like weird like conversational tangents, and I love that we have no structure and we're already on 6 tangents deep, and we're like 5 minutes in. Love it.
Yeah.
We were discussing, like, it just came up because it came up somewhere. I was just like, Boris has got loads of kids, hasn't he? And I was just like, I googled how many kids Boris Johnson has. So this
Like
man,
4 different wives.
this man who's been voted in as like the upstanding representative of the British country,
The leader of the Conservative Party.
the leader of the Conservative Party, that upstanding group of people,
Is the UK's top shagger.
yeah, the UK's top shagger, which is actually true.
Which is incredible looking at the man, because
'Cause-
Jesus Christ,
Here he is. It's Alex.
he must be loaded. Sorry, Alex, we're talking about politics.
It's a very like strange version of politics. But
Strange for
Bojo-
I expect
Bojo-
nothing less.
imagine, right? So like imagine all the people that like you can sort of think about that. Like imagine all the Geordie Shore lot and like the only ways Essex and stuff like that. All these like really chiseled, well tanned people, and Boris Johnson. And Boris Johnson is the UK's top shagger.
Oh,
But yeah, so following on from that,
Yeah.
I googled it because I was like, how many kids does Boris Johnson have? And the news article and Google itself, if you don't believe me, people listening at home, you can do this yourself. It's called a at-home experiment. You can go onto Google and just type in how many kids does Boris Johnson has, and the actual answer is it is believed to be 7, but unconfirmed.
believed to be. Yeah, I've heard something like that before. Like
So
he has
it's 7.
ridiculous.
Question mark.
It's believed to be 7.
It's officially 7, and unofficially we don't know.
And for legal reasons, this is all speculation. Do not sue us. Also, I have no money because I'm one of those dirty peasants that you love to take money from and ruin my home situation. So
And also, we're in a metal band. We don't get paid for
money.
we have made enough money.
You make music and get paid? What?
We have made enough money from Spotify royalties so I can buy 2.5 Happy Meals between the members of the Wolves.
That's more than I thought, I'll be honest. Also,
Boris has more kids than Nikki Sixx. Just let that sink in for a minute.
Oh, yikes.
That's depressing.
Oh God!
But Boris has more kids than Motley Crue combined. Like that is in the grand scheme of things.
But yeah, so
Terrifying.
I told you jumping on the Wolves Don't Sleep official #podcast would be a thing. But before we carry on any more tangents, we actually have some very important questions. I
was even professional and wrote them down.
As we've established, Ash is our manager. If you want to hear him talking about himself properly, you can go to the Nottingham Rock podcast where he has an actual interview and it's a lot more civilized. And he explains everything that he does.
I mean, you say it's a lot more civilized, but literally 10 minutes into the podcast and I've called myself a band slag.
That is true. But
it wasn't the most civilized. And then the highlight of the whole podcast for me was talking about my hometown. That the biggest monumental thing that happened was that a load of youths burned down a cricket pavilion.
Oh, nice!
And that was the highlight of the podcast for me, was being able to talk about how just not very good my hometown.
Is that where you draw all of your inspiration from? Is that burning?
Yeah, it's pavilion? Dude, it was, it really affected me in a way that it's some people talk about family issues, some people talk about addiction. The cricket pavilion meant a lot to me. It was a monumental thing. You know what I mean? R.I.P. It has a special place in my heart.
But yeah,
well, you were meant to be the next Graham Swan, weren't you?
That's a reference I do not understand. Is that a cricket player?
I hope so.
That's what Vantablack's debut single "No Silence, No Sorrow" was about. Is the cricket pavilion, and we all had a moment of silence and a moment of sorrow. And now there is no silence and no sorrow.
The first Vantablack album is going to be about that cricket pavilion.
It is.
And then the second one's going to be about the one time we beat the Aussies in the Ashes. Vantablack are actually a new metal cricket band. So which means when we go on tour, if it's us and Vantablack, we've got the snooker stuff covered. And you guys have got the cricket, thus making us two of the most British bands in existence.
It could be instead of Wolves Don't Sleep, could be Pockets Too Deep. And then we could be we could be Vantablack. Vanta cricket bat.
Oh, could you get custom cricket bats made with just Vantablack on them?
That, to be honest, we was thinking about merch ideas that nobody ever really does anymore. We was just thinking about stuff, but now that you've mentioned it, imagine a Vantablack cricket bat or a Wolves Don't Sleep pool cue.
Fuck yeah.
Okay, the Wolves Don't Sleep pool cues I'm pretty sure have been discussed. I'm pretty sure they've been discussed.
I am going to get a Wolves Don't Sleep pool cue made at some point.
What about if we had the black ball but had the logo on it?
Oh, that'd be sick.
That'd be kind of nice.
Oh, instead of the 8 ball.
Coming to our big cartel in 2023 when we have money again, the official
2023 when all the royalties from the shows come in.
Spotify as well.
When Spotify finally start paying as well.
Anyway. I was gonna say Spotify, but then I realised that Spotify don't pay the royalties, so I was like, I'm not gonna add that one.
I mean, we've actually made, as much as I joke about it, I think we've made about 30 quid, and we haven't had the royalty report from Clarity yet. So shrug. We're not doing too badly considering the fact that no one likes us. And we're the #worst metalcore band ever. But yeah, we actually have some very important questions that we have discussed previously.
Oh yeah, these are the most important questions.
These are the official Wolves Don't Sleep questions that you're not allowed to hang out with us unless you answer these questions.
Oh, sick.
Okay, first one, Mr. Ashley. What is
Okay.
your favourite Dulux paint shade?
My favourite Dulux paint shade.
Feel free to Google the Dulux colour chart.
Okay. Do you know what? I'm actually going to do that right now, just because. I mean, it may come as a surprise to you, but I've never been asked that question before.
It's why we ask it.
This is why we ask it, because like I've got one of the reds. I can't remember which one it is. It was something red. Go back to episode 1, and you can.
Red is actually my favourite colour, so it probably will be most likely one of the reds.
Because Dan Bradley, when he returns, his is Tuscan Sunset, which is a good colour. So these are these like critical questions you have to think about, like the Dulux.
Mine was a joke colour, but we won't mention it.
Oh,
for a second.
shit. Yeah, no.
Not this time.
Not
I mean,
actually,
like, to be honest, like the Tuscan red or clay brick is probably because my favourite colour is red, but I like the darker shades of red as well.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah, solid.
So there you go.
Second question we've asked people, or second of 3. What crisps are the best to put in a sandwich?
Oh, dude.
Sticking on the sticking on the most British of British things. What crisps you put in a sandwich?
It depends on what filling.
No. You have a packet of crisps of your choice and 2 slices of bread to make a crisp sandwich. That is it. You can have butter, and that's it.
I'd just go standard Walker's cheese and onion, man. That'd be
cheese. Oh, shout!
Solid
not bad shout. Not bad shout. I'm a fan of.
I mean,
standard Walker's cheese and onion.
No, go with the classic. No, but
I think it's a safe. It's definitely a safe shout to go with.
Yeah, I always feel like going too heavy on the crisp flavour if it's a sandwich is going to be messy, especially going back to what you said. Like, it depends what filling. If you are going to have crisps in a filling, and you've already got like 3 fillings,
you don't want it too overpowering.
Yeah, you don't want like chili sensations that are just going to like completely take the taste out.
No. Right, okay. But back in the day when I worked at the food retail company that I'm not allowed to name for legal reasons, so we don't get sued when I trash talk them. I used to get like the meal deal of like a BLT or like the chicken salad sandwich, whack some sweet chili sensations in it. Game changer.
Good combo.
Okay,
is a good
corrected.
I'm also very accustomed to frazzles in a sandwich.
Yes, that's basically a bacon sandwich.
I think that frazzles themselves are like a god tier kind of crisp anyway. So I think like putting them in 2 slices of bread can't be any more British if we tried. But like I find it quite funny as well. Like I saw a meme. This was ages ago, but it was like American people. It's like British people will literally put anything in a sandwich: pot noodles, fish fingers, ketchup. I was like, yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yes to all of the above.
I was at a good friend of ours' house once many moons ago. Shout out Albert Morris.
Yes, my boy.
Absolute banger.
And his mum had made us spaghetti bolognese. Actually, I can clarify. Albert's mum's spaghetti bolognese is the best spaghetti bolognese I've had in my life. Albert went, I don't want it with spaghetti. Just leave it in the bowl. I'm bagging it in a sandwich. And he left it unattended because we were drunk and stuff. And I was just like, he's left this unattended bolognese sandwich. I think this is a bit mental. Let's give it a go. Bolognese sandwich, approved.
I was going to say, actually sounds pretty decent, to be fair.
I was going to say, I think putting a lot of things in a sandwich kind of like takes it from one level to the next. Like, it could be anything really. You've got a fry up, put it in a sandwich, it's even better.
Yeah.
I think it's just a convenience thing.
What's the most Scooby-Doo style sandwich anyone's ever done?
It wasn't a sandwich that I physically made myself, but so me and my drummer in Vantablack, Cow, every now and again we like to go out and do these kind of like food challenges. And we did this one food challenge once, and it was called, like, I'm sorry for anybody that's a vegan, but like we did this apocalypse cow burger, right? And it was basically 4 beef patties with 2 chicken breasts, some pulled pork and onion rings. on an entire burger, and it was the size of a baby.
That
Like,
sounds like way more than I do.
dude, it was insane. It was massive, but it was literally like a Scooby-Doo sandwich. It was insane, like the size of the
Mate.
thing. But yeah, that's the most Scooby-Doo sandwich because it completely wrote me off.
Nice.
I've got like a less OTT one, but like a bit more of a memory one. Everyone's seen Red Dwarf, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know Lister's triple fried egg chili chutney sandwich.
Season 2, episode 3. Memory.
Season 2, episode 3.
Yeah.
I haven't had it with chili chutney because I don't actually have any chili chutney in, but I've done the 3 slices of bread and like fuck tons of fried eggs. And I used up a Buckfast barbecue sauce. That's a sandwich.
That does sound
I
pretty
remember
lit.
you getting that. Yeah, it
Yeah,
does sound
I
pretty
just
good.
had a picture to everyone. I was like, I've done it. I've
Yeah.
made this
Oh,
sandwich.
dude.
It's
Speaking
supposed
of
to be a
Buck-
hangover cure, though. And you're adding more alcohol into it.
I was just gonna say, Buckfast is one of my most favorite things. It's my tour
Good
drink.
man.
Oh, you can
Good man.
say
You can say it.
Absolutely.
It's fucking
Dude, whenever
incredible
we went into Scotland, it'd be like the nearest off license that would sell Buckfast. It'd be stock up for the remainder of it.
There
We was
was,
in like the tour that we did last January with Insight. We played Edinburgh, and it was like 5 days into a 3-week tour, and we stocked up on that much Buckfast that we got put into the van. It was just like the remainder of the tour was just like fucking
Yes.
Buckfast. It was sick, man.
Yeah.
I love it.
Have you had dragon soup yet?
Literally,
I have had dragon soup, and to be
Oh,
really honest, like
okay.
I'm drinking San Miguel at the moment, but my my corner shop usually have dragon soup in. And I was thinking, I was like, when you first said that you wanted me to come on this podcast, and I was like, do you know what? I'm going to go get some dragon soup because I know that they have it, and they didn't have any in at all. And I was like, oh, wounded. So I had to settle for this instead.
Once again, Dragon Soup, if you're listening, which we know that you might be because you
On
definitely
our
look at
end-
everything we post.
On
Yeah.
our endless quest to get
Sponsor us.
Dragon Soup sponsor.
It will happen, dude. Like they commented on the status the other day. That's like phase 1. Like
Yeah.
they've now acknowledged that you guys are a
Contact
band
has been
and that
made.
you want the sponsorship. And they was like, right, sponsorships don't happen at the moment because of COVID, but we'll look into it later on down the line. And I think the more that you pester and the more that you
Hell
push
yeah.
into it, they'll
100%.
definitely do it.
I mean,
but what
That is
about
a
John
fucking
Smith?
modus operandi.
no,
No, we'll get onto
What
the
the-
John Smiths. We need to work on one brand at a time,
yeah,
Ben.
one brand at a time.
We'll
And
get onto the John Smiths if eventually Dragon Soup say no.
Dragon Soup are small enough that they would 100% sponsor us.
In
Yeah,
all
well, John
honesty, I
Smith's
think,
an
like,
old man drink.
I was just about to say, I don't know if anybody at John Smith know what metalcore is.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Oh, yeah.
Not yet.
Always. It like that,
Alright.
that Led Zeppelin band I saw once. back
Oh,
in-
dude. You guys are in a band. Oh, that's nice. Do you play gigs? Do you play covers or your own stuff?
Oh, God, every time.
honestly,
Every
that's
time.
the main thing I hated about transitioning to working in an office. And it's like, oh, you're in a band.
I was actually going to say that'd be my question to you guys. What's the most mum comment you've ever had?
Does screaming hurt your voice?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it's like, oh, how
That's-
do you do that? I'm like, I just do it. Like it's just a thing. We've also got like
I drink alcohol and get sad.
Can you understand what other bands are saying?
sometimes
do you-
depends
yeah,
how much I
do
like
you-
them.
Depends who it is, because there's a lot of bands out there. Like we all know a slam band that's just.
Oh, true. Yeah. Like,
Oh, God, yeah.
like that's all. That is all what slam is, realistically.
The entirety of the genre. Yeah.
The
Full
entire thing.
Virginia.
There's going to be like, I saw this the Black Dahlia murder documentary that they did years ago in Majesty, and there was Trevor was talking about this like how the vocalist of Black Dahlia murder,
Well, we've
Not,
seen
not that Trevor Dan.
Oh,
Not that Trevor
okay.
Dan.
There's, yeah.
Oh.
and basically he was talking about the evolution of metal, and like one point like in the future all metal bands is literally just going to be. I was like, that is so true. Like, look at the pig squeal. How far away from that is the pig squeal?
I'm
Yeah,
also
no.
I'm also on like a quest to find the first recorded use of a bleh.
You
It
might
would probably
I
be
don't
from
know.
Architect.
No,
Yeah,
it's
I literally about to say, if you delve into like Architects' back catalogue, they were huge.
I
on
didn't think
it.
Architect started because I found like a whole Reddit thread, so I'm not the only person looking for this answer. Apparently, it initiated with Celtic Frost. not a Blair,
Oh,
but
okay.
Celtic Frost, because the bloke from Celtic Frost, wherever he's like Tom, whatever his name is, he used to do like, it was like a variation of like some sort of hardcore bands did, where they just do like a like randomly. Like if you go and listen to old
Yeah.
Celtic Frost, there'll be like a riff. Then it'll go, and then the riff will kick in, like the song will kick in. That's one of the things that basically that's the precursor of a Blair.
It's sort of like the proto Blair,
Yeah, the proto Blair.
effectively.
The proto Blair. I'm quite utterly convinced that Sam Carter came out of his mother going Blair.
Probably.
I would
Who's
agree
Sam
with
Carter?
that. Like,
The vocalist from
Architects.
Architects.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna write this down. Hang on, where's my pen?
You might want to.
That's
They're a really big
Why you-
metalcore band. Metalcore is the genre that we play, and you're in a
Good mix of
metalcore
Kelsey.
band.
why? What? Is it,
Right, I'm just gonna write this down.
I'm pretty sure he's good friends with Martin Kemp.
do you want
He's
to
gonna
write down?
write this down. He's gonna wake up one day like, why have I got like Sam Carter on a piece of paper randomly?
Well, I was gonna say, do you want to write down who Kelsey is from the 500 at the same time?
Shout out to Kelsey.
Shout out to Kelsey for 500.
My boy Kelsey.
Yeah.
Dan still to this day has no idea who Kelsey is. Like he's met him.
He's met him. He's had like half-hour conversations with him,
Still has no idea. Who
and
Kelsey
yeah,
is. No idea who Kelsey is.
I actually used to. I was in a band with Kelsey at one point. I did join We Are Tyrants for a brief.
Oh, you were
couple
also
months.
We Are
Oh,
Tyrants.
yeah.
Shout
I
out
got
to
offered
the
to join
Tyrant
them as a
saxophone
bassist.
throwback.
That was a thing.
Yeah, because me and Kelsey, I've known Kelsey for, God, I want to say like 8 years now. I filled in for We Are Tyrants years ago. We all basically, I was in a band called Bleed Till Dawn years and years and years and
Oh,
years.
shout
and years.
out.
No, fucking don't shout out.
Betray the shout.
It was like my first 16-year-old metalcore band. That wasn't really metalcore, but so we played we played a gig. We was playing this festival when it was called Chaos Fest, and my Kelsey's old band, We Are Tyrants,
That does,
also
yeah.
played Chaos Fest, and we played a gig with them before, and that's how we kind of met. And I, when Tyrants came back as a 4-piece, I'd feature on one song. They had a song called God Lives in Me, and I used to feature on it. And I used to love Kelsey's mum and dad, but they'd always kind of like push it on Ben, their old vocalist, like, you should get Ashen on vocals. Like, you should be vocals. Like, it sounds sick, like you two combined. And like, Joe, thinking back to it now, like, I was literally forced into that band by Kelsey's mum and dad, going, yeah, you should be in the band. Like, both of your guys' vocals sound incredible. And that's the only reason I was in Tyrants, was because of Kelsey's mum and dad.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, shout out Kelsey's mum and dad.
I know I say this a lot, but who's Kelsey again?
Moving on.
Don't even start.
Kelsey is the identical double of the Miss May I vocalist.
Oh, fuck,
Who's the
he
Miss
is as
May I
well.
No, he
Okay,
is.
okay,
yeah.
let's just stop. Dan, as you will begin to learn, Ash, Dan doesn't listen to metal. Like, he just doesn't.
at all.
He gets forced to listen to metal and he doesn't enjoy it, which is the best thing.
And then he writes really good riffs. It's just one of those weird universal things.
Yeah, we get a lot of throwing riffs in his face and saying, "Right, like this."
I do have like a random story about We Are Tyrants, but it's not publicly.
Yeah, should we move on from that
We'll
part?
just move on to the next question. 'Cause we've still got 2 more to like finish grilling you. Then we can go on to the rest of the podcast.
I've got 3
You got
because
3?
Bing's reminded me of one that's again a little bit more out there, and is what is your favorite nation's flag?
My favourite nation's flag.
My best one.
The best flag. I kind of think that I think Australia's got the best flag because they've kind of like taken a couple of different flags and gone, fuck it, we're just going to make one big flag of multiple different flags, and they've kind of just basically put a middle finger up to all these different nations.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
It's our flag now,
it's a decent
bitch.
answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Flag of the prison colony.
Fair enough.
I respect that.
Danny, you have to.
And also,
I'm
I feel like
quite happy.
Australia
I
needs
wish-
to have the best flag because Australia's filled with the most things that can physically kill you.
Yeah, that's
very
true.
So I feel like in a battle of like whose flag's better, they'd be like, well, the majority of our country could poison you or eat you in whole.
I mean,
So it's like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
you
pretty
guys
sure
win.
the country of Australia is the only country to lose a war against birds. So
And birds aren't real.
But I
birds
mean,
are
like
real.
birds are airborne. If everything was on land, they'd be fucked.
No,
If birds if birds could only walk.
I mean, it was emus.
Oh,
so...
yeah, it'd be frightening.
It was the great.
Basically,
it was
dinosaurs.
only emos then. Australia was the only country to lose a war against emos. That's the most metalcore story.
For God. Anyway, 2 more questions, and we'll go on to some fucking badass topics, and then we can go on to the any of the topics that we refuse to talk about pre-recorded.
I've got 2 questions as well.
Oh my God, this is just.
Oh, yeah. I did tell Dan that Ash was coming on, and Dan went, oh, I'm going to come. Go on, then we'll go with one of your questions, Dan. I'll come back to mine.
I didn't know there was any homework, so I had to try and think them off. I'll start off with an easy one, a very easy one. Right, simple. Keenan or Kel? Which one?
I don't have an answer. I have no frame of reference to this. Like, I'm aware of Keenan and Kel, but I've never watched it.
Hey, Kel loves orange soda, motherfucker.
I was just about to say it's just Kel because he's so simple and funny.
Good answer, because he put the screw in the tuner as well. That's good.
Literally, the dude's incredible. So yeah, Kel, 100% Kel.
And the next question is, who would win in a fight? Stuart Little or Remy from Ratatouille? Think carefully about this.
I feel like Stuart Little's a bit of a bitch.
Yeah. I can.
So yeah, I'd say Remy. He's a bit hardcore.
Yeah,
and he's got the knife skills.
Got the knife.
Yeah,
skills.
dude.
Yeah,
like,
true.
if you think about it, like Stuart Little just breaks shit and like gets too attached to birds, which is the ultimate sign of weakness. Where Remy is a real man and gets attached to food, which can only mean one thing, and that is like disputable anger.
Can you imagine like being the kids at that fucking orphanage in Stuart Little, and that fucking ultra middle class family come to pick out a foster kid, out of all the actual normal human kids, they pick the one fucking mouse. Like how that the suicide rate in that orphanage must have skyrocketed overnight.
It's not even that. Like they must have come in and like every single person that worked at that orphanage must have thought, you guys are abusing acid. Why are we letting you take a mouse out of an orphanage full of kids?
Why are they taking a mouse?
It's probably the safer option. Let them have the mouse rather than like kill a child.
Yeah, if there are like 2 adults who go, we want to adopt a kid, and then their most logical reasoning is to go for a mouse. Like those are not people you want to be given, like letting be in charge of actual children.
But also as well, why would an orphanage have a mouse on the books? Like, did they just like get bored one day and think, oh, we need a new child. Oh, we've got funding for one more child. Oh, there's a mouse. That'll do. Let's teach it how to speak.
They need to make the numbers even.
It could have been the chef. And then in later years, as it grew older, it became Remy for Ratatouille.
I refuse to accept that they could teach
but Remy's a rat.
Yeah, you can dye your hair and grow a longer tail, can't you?
I don't know. Can you dye your hair and grow a longer tail down?
I can do one of those things.
Yeah, you just like rip around it and do.
Also,
you can't dye your hair,
I'm sure it would come up on your, because like you have to. I'm pretty sure when adopting or anything along those lines, you have to kind of like list if you have any pets, and like I'm pretty sure they would have said, yeah, we've got a house cat. Oh yeah, bring a fucking mouse home. That's a great idea. Let's adopt a mouse.
We've still got some more questions to go through as well. Right, let's try. I'm just going to spearhead this one just to get us off this fucking topic.
Yeah.
What is your go-to studio food? Like, you're in the studio for like a week or whatever. Like, what is your go-to food?
Oh god. I mean, to be honest, like it depends really where I am. Like, because I feel that if anywhere's got a really good meal deal counter, that's kind of standard. But if there's a Subway or anything like that nearby, something along those lines, I'd probably say a Subway is my favorite because there's so many different. Like, you could be in the studio for 2 weeks and have a different sandwich every day.
Yeah,
that's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Whereas you could get through the McDonald's menu quite quickly in a studio time.
Yeah, very good.
we actually quite well
out, actually. Yeah,
we tried to stay away from like McDonald's and stuff like that. To be honest, like we had like loads of home cooked meals. Like we're really on that fucking health life. When we had,
I am. Don't get me wrong, but
you say that the Munchie Box.
That Munchie Box
I was literally about to say the same thing.
That Munchie Box was class.
don't get me wrong. Like I'm very much on the health kick, but like the last couple of times that I've physically been into the studio, like when I was before Swan split up, we was in a studio in Northwich, and yeah, obviously I don't know anywhere around there at all, and the closest place to that was a Starbucks and a Subway that was next door. So it's kind of like I guess it really depends on what the closest food company is around that area, but it's usually like
no, that makes sense. Studio week or month, it doesn't count though, does it? Like,
no,
it's not like you're in there like 100% of the time, and it's something different. So you just
definitely
eat what makes you feel better about like your writing or your recording or like
like after listening to a click track 14 million times, there's only like you're only one man. You need to treat yourself at that point. You've had a rough day.
And I guess following on from that, another one that we had written down, and I know it's been a while, so bear with us, but
been a while.
Your go-to pre or post gig meal. What do you like after a gig or before a gig or like breakfast?
I was going to say
on the day of the gig.
I tend not to eat before a gig, and I learned this the hard way by just eat. Well, we had a massive meal. We was in Sheffield, and do you know that? I don't know if you guys have ever been to it. Would you know there's a burger restaurant in Sheffield that's got all like different metal bands go there, and they've all got different like names.
Oh, it's is it the Bring Me one?
Yeah.
Or is
No, the twisted burger.
Yeah.
No,
so
we went there before when we played in Sheffield because my mate lives in Sheffield.
Yeah.
And I messaged. I was just like, "Yo, like decent vegan places, like places to do like decent vegan food." Because like 9 times out of 10, like the majority of our stuff is like veggie when we do our own stuff anyway. Hashtag meat is murder. And she was just like,
are we now hashtagging the Smiths?
Well, hashtag it. No, fuck Morrissey, he's a wanker. And she sent us there, and I had like the sleeps one. So I feel you.
It looks fucking great.
So
it's incredible. But like we went there. We was on tour with Our Hollow at Home at the time, and part of our rider was we got taken to this particular burger restaurant.
Yo, that's
it was incredible. And like we basically we ate before it. Come back to play the show, and like all like the support bands had played, and then it was us next because we were main support. So like I went on stage literally just as we was walking through the door, like 5 minutes in, sort of setting up, and then I went on stage and like trying to scream whilst you've just eaten a big meal is horrendous because it's just acid reflux. So I tend not to kind of like indulge too much before a show, but after a show, I mean, like, I don't know, it depends what kind of day it is, because like a lot of the time what we was doing was because beforehand we'd always like pay a bit extra and try and book hotels on tours, and or play like try and stop at people's houses or anything like that, places where there was like a microwave or some form of cooking appliance. So like a lot of the time we'd physically buy like food supplements, so things like, I don't know, any kind of meat or rice or veg or anything like that, and we'd cook it wherever we were and eat it like that, and you kind of like have meal preps for a certain amount of days. So I tried to do that for like the first week of tour, because I know that I could prep meals for a week and they'd still be all right by the end of the week. But anything after that, if it was like a 2, 3, maybe even a month-long tour, then obviously it'd be whatever's around us at the time or whatever we got given on a rider, really.
Is it different from when you're on tour to like say like a hometown local show? You know, like like the one-off shows.
Yeah, because like it's, I don't know. I mean, I have, to be brutally honest with you, like I haven't done just a standard one-off show for a while, because a lot of the ones that we were doing, kind of because we all live so far away from each other, it never made sense for us logistically to do one-off shows. So it'd always be like we'd have like 3 or 4. If we did get off of one show, we'd always get like 2 or 3 shows, just so logistically it made sense for us to go to them.
Make it more worth the while.
But it was stuff like that. It was just like more of a saving money kind of thing, really. To kind of like prep the meals beforehand, because we knew that we could keep them and put them in like a freezer bag, and they'd just be fine.
That's actually like a really solid like
Yeah,
hack.
prepping your meals for the
Meal
tour.
prep ahead of time.
Yeah, dude. And like, especially as well, if you can find places to stay, 9 times out of 10, like we would always have a place to stay because we'd either have friends in there or one of us would know something, or we'd put a status out saying, can anybody hold us up? We'll give you a few t-shirts or something like that.
Yeah.
And if you've got freezer bags with you, obviously chuck them in their freezer overnight and put it back into the freezer bag the next day, and you're good for another 24, 48 hours. You know what I mean? So
No, that's
Yeah.
No, that's just
that's
a solid
mad
shout,
efficient.
man.
That's mad efficient.
tour hacks with Ash.
Yeah. Tour
Notes
hacks with that. We'll
taken.
get you back on for a specialist episode on that tour hacks with Ash.
Oh, hacks.
Guys,
Yeah, man,
one of our
100%.
ultimate, or one of our constant tangent different things. So we've got tour hacks with Ash, Men in Bands review Vans.
Yeah, me and Steve.
And we've got the special guest on the next episode discussing breakdowns. So
Yes.
Oh, yes.
It's going to be an hour
Yeah,
long.
dude,
And it's
like-
just going to be just him discussing like ridiculous amounts of his favorite breakdowns and all the timestamps for him.
but yeah, no, that's some solid answers. Solid.
Solid answers.
But yeah, I suppose there we go. That's if you wanted to know the man who babysits us. There's answering the official hashtag Wolves Don't Sleep questions. Everyone is aware of the band Softcool that ripped off Loathe. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
For those
yeah.
of you
Just-
unaware,
I'll be quiet.
Do you want to explain it for Dan?
as of yesterday, it came to light. I don't know how it came to light as well, because it's such a random thing to happen. Like some random small band in the States of 2 lassies called Softcool. Somehow their video got found of their newest song, and it is essentially a like for like of Loath's song and music video for Two-Way Mirror. And obviously everyone caught wind of this, and the internet went a bit aggro, as they do.
It never happens.
Which never happens.
Don't know what you mean.
I saw it on my Facebook, and I was like, "There's no way this is." I thought it was like my mate taking the piss, or it's like a little bit of a dig, and I was like, "This is the same song. This is just the same song, hands down."
Yeah, it's like for like you say. It's
As
Yeah.
it's come to light in the past hour, they've made an official statement saying they've spoken to Loathe, they've taken the song down, and so if you're hearing this after the fact and you've not seen it, soz, you don't get to see.
it's gone.
I mean, I'll just listen to Low, thanks.
Yeah, I'll just
Like-
listen to Loathe.
What I don't understand about it is that like so you've got like, I understand that you can have riffs that sound similar to other bands, but they've literally done like from start to finish, like even like the slow motion parts of the music video and like the lead lines, the vocal melody lines, it's all like so structured exactly the same as the Low song.
Like, it's
And it's like,
a
you can get
complete-
away with it. Like you can get away with it if it's like a random riff in a song.
Yeah,
But
like-
if it's physically the carbon copy of the structure of the song,
Yeah,
you
it's like-
can't say that it's just
we're a metalcore band.
No.
Our main used frets are 7, 5, and 9.
Yeah,
Like,
Don't give away our. Don't give away it.
With brothers,
Secret,
Deftones.
secret.
and
you've literally
yeah.
just uncovered the formula in a few
For
seconds.
metalcore.
And
If you want to
every-
play, if you want to play metalcore, kids, just use 3, 5, 7, and 9.
Oh,
Plenty of
Deftones.
opens.
And then for breakdowns,
Yeah,
it's
and loads of
0, 1,
opens.
0,
And
1, 0, 1. Like, that's it. Like,
Yeah.
that's how you write metalcore. That's
Plenty
it.
of opens. 5, 7, 9. Right about sad boy shit.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then the chorus is just power chords, the same frets. 5, 7, 3, 9. Like power chords. That's it. That's how we are hoping to make a living one day. Off this really stupid stuff. The only way we're going to get famous is off complete gimmicks and ridiculousness. That's why I look as beautiful as I do, because that's the gimmick. And annoying people on
If
the
only you
internet.
guys could see the cat ears.
I was going to say, you look really beautiful with those cat ears right now.
I'm sure
Yeah.
he's posted pictures of himself on his Instagram before with his cat ears. So just go find it on his Instagram.
I actually haven't. I've not actually run
Have
any
you not?
pictures. No, like,
Well,
No.
Like
Alex, they're exclusive to the OnlyFans.
there is.
Oh,
this
okay.
video.
Yeah. Oh, that's why I see it all the time then, because I am subscribed to Steve's OnlyFans.
You get
I like
you get the free version. It's fine.
Oh, do
Like,
I? Sweet.
Yeah. You-
fans.
OnlyFans.
I was actually thinking of starting an OnlyFans for just baking and calling it OnlyFlans.
Oh.
Yes.
That's a bit too similar to Craig from Stray's website.
Yeah,
only flams.
Only flams, only slams.
Yeah.
Videos of you, or like it could be videos of you teaching your grandparents how to operate basic technology. Only grands.
Oh, no,
only nans.
First of all, only nans or only
Only
grants is
nans.
definitely already a website, and I'm not prepared to Google it.
It's like
What about if you
I
did-
imagine it's the same as what lemonparty.com is.
Oh, I was just thinking about that as well.
Oh.
What about when you do your? What about when you do your van?
Only Vans.
Yes, only Vans.
Speaking of Lemon Party, for you Zoomer listeners, once again, I don't know why this is now becoming a bit of me explaining things to people younger than me.
I think the only way that you can really explain Lemon Party is by telling them to go and search it.
Just get to Google
Go
it.
and search
Yeah.
it.
You need to experience it for
very
yourself.
Welcome
Just go
to
and search it.
the internet that us dirty millennials grew up in.
Go and search it. www.lemonparty.com.
Watch if it's
Best
been
website.
taken down. Part of me wants to test, but I don't want to.
It's
No,
either been
I'm
taken
with
down or updated.
Dan, do it.
Or moved. Yeah.
Which one?
You.
Lemon Party.
Me? Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Live reaction. Danny's going to go on to Lemon Party.
Put your camera on.
No, it's still up.
Is it still up?
Yeah, you got to agree to it. Oh no, it's changed. It's just a porn site now.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's not too far from what it originally was.
I mean, fair point.
But in
No.
the wild west of the early internet, it was something else.
It was
entirely.
something very different.
Sorry, Zoomers, you missed out on peak internet culture.
I played
What
Dragon.
were we- what
I
were
played
we
Dragon
talking
Force.
about
With, I played Dragon Force with the Fire and the Flames, and then masturbate in my bed. I sort of want to watch it.
But yeah,
That's
so
great. Yeah, what were we talking about before we went down this rabbit hole?
rule of thumb is
Pretty sure I held the camera.
rule of thumb is don't actively, like, if you somehow accidentally find out you're ripping off a band, maybe don't release it.
Oh yeah, the band that ripped off Load.
If you don't
I'm
know,
with you.
if it turns out you accidentally ripped off a band, fair enough, whatevs. But maybe just don't. Just do some searching. Like I've Googled stuff before to make sure that some of my lyrics aren't the same as other stuff, because when we wrote Forest Fire, I was just like, I'm pretty sure this is an Amity Affliction song, and it turns out there is an Amity Affliction song called Forest Fire. So I then went through and read all the lyrics to make sure that I hadn't accidentally plagiarized the Amity Affliction.
I mean, it happens in writing all the time.
Because like, if you
Like,
listen to stuff, it's just in your head.
It's like that time at practice when Dan Bradley brought in a riff and we all thought it was really cool, and then it turned out it was a Word Alive song.
No, it was an entire song
Yeah,
that someone else had written but given the song to Dan from a previous band, and it was an entire Word Alive song. We then went to go see the Word Alive at Rescue Read.
Oh, was
And then
that what it
we
was?
went- and then
Right.
we went, this is the song that Dan wrote, that Dan gave to us, but someone else had written. And it was an entire Word Alive song, note for note. Like,
I mean, we've done it before where, when I've been in previous bands, and the guitarist is coming in being like, "Oh, I've got this sick new riff I wrote last night. Like, it's so sick, it's so catchy." I'm like, "Yeah, go on then, play it for us. Let's have a listen." We listened to it, like, "Yeah, it's pretty sick." And one of us just went, "Hold on, isn't that just It Never Ends by Bring Me the Horizon?" We were like, "Oh yeah."
I wrote an entire
that sucks.
breakdown once, and it was the fucking intro to the Downfall of Us All by Day to Remember. I was like, yo, this is sick. And I was like, and then I sent it to someone that was like, you do realize this is Downfall of Us All, right? And I went, oh, for fuck's. I mean, I wondered why it sounded sick, but
Yeah, there's a reason.
there's a reason, because A Day to Remember I've already made bare pee off of it. We all excited for the A Day to Remember album to finally come out after like 6 years.
I'm excited if they've got more heavy stuff on it.
Yeah, I'm excited for the stuff that because apparently they had 3 producers. I'm excited for the stuff they did with Will Putney, and that's about where the line stops.
I'm hoping it's better than all that shit that they released not long ago.
That's on this album.
Yeah.
Oh, I just did not feel it at all.
Nah.
Like some of the songs were sick. Like they had some really cool bangers on it, but there was just some songs that were so questionable.
Yeah.
It's because they're signed
think-
to Fueled by Ramen. And I think Fueled by Ramen have kind of like put the fingers in.
Fuel by Ramen is one of them classic, like, we're going to dictate what you sound like kind of record
because
labels.
the other bands on Fueled by Ramen are...
I actually had that before.
Well, originally were
Panic
Paramore.
Paramore and Panic at the Disco. But granted, Panic at the Disco can get away with being pop as fuck because Brendan Urie is a beautiful, talented man. But
he is. He's a
Very
very
true.
good talented
Very
man.
true.
No, to be honest, like even on the subject of like labels trying to make you sound like a fucking, it's you always hear horror stories about it, but like I've physically experienced what it's like as well, and it's so shit.
Really?
Because so we was with like for legal reasons. I'm not going to name the actual label itself.
Yeah,
but I was signed to a label.
Disclaimer: it's Roadrunner. No,
Yeah, but
Roadrunner would never do that.
we were signed to a label when I was in Swan, and when Vanta first came out, because it was new metal and it was something kind of fresh and not really a lot of people were doing at that particular moment in time. I was like, do you know what? I'm going to pitch it to a label to see what they say, and I pitched it to this label, and I spoke to the person who runs it all, and she was just like, yeah, it sounds sick. Like I really, really want to like put this in. Like she was willing to like fund a lot of money into this EP, but then she was also like, but I think like you guys like you need to go with this like this kind of producer. You need to go with a different producer. You need to do this. You need to do this. You need to do that. And I was like, I haven't even like spoken to you properly about what we want yet, and you're already trying to change me. Like, how can you tell me that you want to fund all this money into a band, but go, oh, by the way, like we want you to like work with a different producer and maybe like get some ghostwriters in and maybe try like add
what
some
they want
more
is
singing,
to...
add this and add this that.
Oh
I was like, you're literally trying to make me a different band.
They're effectively trying to hire
Yeah,
session
fuck that.
musicians.
That would be
Yeah.
so
Like-
joke if you did that for us for like the next lot of Wolf stuff that you've heard, obviously. And no one else has, you fucking bitches.
Dude's like, the way that I see it,
if you
like,
tried to pitch it to like a record label and just see what they say, because I would love to see the comeback and just be like,
I mean that's the idea anyway. Don't get me wrong. That's not. It's I won't beat around the bush. Like that's the idea of things that I'm planning to anyway. But like
hashtag official, hashtag secret announcement.
like I physically hate when record labels try and change you, because music is music and it's emotion and it's like, you know, I get like, don't get me wrong, if you go and work with a producer and a producer's like, maybe you could try this riff or try like doing it in this kind of structure and make it sound ever so different in this way, like that's fair. But you know, when they're physically saying, right, no, you need to change that, you need to add more singing into it, less screams, less rapping, less this, less that, change that riff, do this, do that. And it's like, you basically just want me to rewrite the entire song at this point.
Yeah, it's the difference between like a creative process and just being like, yeah, no, do this.
Like,
just like,
I
do you think we could try
the entire emotion?
Like, I would have no issue if they were just like, right, we like 90% of this, but there's like a few bits here and there that we're not keen on. Because like we are not in a position, like let's be real, we are not in a position to actively fuck about.
Yeah.
Like if we want to make this proper, this is just me spitballing. So don't. This is not like legally binding to myself.
It's not a contract.
It's not a contract.
Disclaimer.
If it came to a point and a label approached us and they were just like, right, we like most of what you're doing, but there's like a few bits here and there we don't want you to do. Depending on what those things are, would be make or break for me, because I do want to, like, we're all here, we all want to make it in this fucking business because it's the only thing that really makes us happy, as we've mentioned constantly. Depending on what those things are, would be depending on how flexible I'd be.
I was going to say it's a very it's a broad spectrum on what's real and what's not, because I think personally, like, the way that I stand on it is that if you pour a lot of emotion, a lot of heart and soul into something, and they any kind of like negativity towards that, if they turn around and say, you know, we don't like this, we want you to change this, and it's something quite big, it becomes less about the music and more about the money and more about selling it. And that to me is, you know, I know, like, don't get me wrong, we're all in this, like you just said, we're all in this for the long run, and we want to make a career out of it. You know, and that naturally, it's a given that comes with making money. But I think that if you're solely doing this for just making money, and like you'll do whatever label tells you to do, and like, you know, you'll do anything, you'll make this kind of sound, you'll do this, you'll add this, you'll add that, and like simplify everything, then you've kind of like lost the whole touch of why you did it in the first place. There's such a massive difference between working with producers and labels trying to change you. And I think what you've got to remember fundamentally is that labels need to make money in order for them to function. Producers, yes, it's their job, but producers are also there to make you sound better. And you know, it's almost like that sixth member or that seventh member that is there to kind of like get that outside view. So when you write something, obviously you're going to write something because it's what you think sounds good in your head, right? So imagine if you then take that to the producer, and the producer's got an outsider kind of view, and he goes, well, why don't you try this? You add it and it sounds 20 times better than what you initially had. That's sick. That's fine. But when you've got like, when you've done that with a producer, and then you go to like like a record label or something like that, and this particular record label goes, well, we don't really like that, like we'd rather you guys do this, like we'd rather you dress in all black, or we'd rather you just like, you know, add more singing into it and not scream anymore, or not do this and not do this or not do that. It kind of like, it loses every aspect of what you're actually wanting to do music for anyway, because it just becomes commercial at that point.
No, stuff like that's just like, no, okay.
I've heard so many stories from so many different bands and musicians saying the exact same thing, that the outside perspective from a producer is just like second to none on getting a good result from it, and like I really enjoy that fact. But getting a record label saying, oh, we don't want you to do this style anymore, you know, we want you to be like this because you're going to make more money, and I'm not a fan of ever doing that.
No, neither am I.
Yeah, no, like I'm saying, like depending on what, like if push came to shove and it was just like we're sat in a fucking office and like the contract's in front of us and they're just like, we'll sign you and give you like shit tons of money,
but you need to do X, Y, Z.
Depending on what those buts are.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a decision you need to take.
I think the thing that you need to remember about record labels as well is that the way that they work is that you'll sign a deal, they'll give you an advance, but they've got to make that money back. So they'll take a large percentage of whatever royalty you earn until they get that money back. And then depending on what it says on the dotted line, that's what you'll get back afterwards. So let's say, for example, a lot of record labels will take into consideration that, you know, you guys have got merch, you've got all this, but they could have every right to your merch. Like they'll own all rights to your merch. They'll own all rights to your music. So if you guys want to leave that record label after a certain amount of time, that record label still own that music. So they will then make the royalties out of it and you'll only get a percentage.
Because we've seen that with Believe From Within recently, because they were like, oh, what happened to your first album?
Humanity and
Empire. And they were like, that's just an issue with the previous record label. And I think it was mentioned on the Downbeat podcast, because it had Sam Carter on, and he was just like, yeah, I'd really love to like remaster, like redo the first couple of Architects albums. And he's just like, but I don't want to get into an argument with I just don't want to deal with whatever record label they're on.
So interesting fact. So my old band Sworn Amongst and Believe From Within were on the same record label as at one point. So not like me personally, like I know the guys, don't get me wrong, but like Johnny, my old drummer, is ridiculously good friends with those guys, and we've spoken about stuff like that. We've had this particular conversation a few times before. Now I'm not going to like completely out the record label, but that particular record label now doesn't exist for reasons such as they were so bad. They screwed a lot of people over. They owed a lot of money to a lot of bands.
Right.
I know what label you're talking about, because we would chat about it the other day, and I know which label you're on about.
They completely screwed. So they screwed Sworn over. They screwed Believe From Within over. They screwed a lot of bands over. They owe a lot of money still. They owe a lot of money to a lot of bands. And they just went under. Like they completely just went off the radar.
It was years and years and years ago. I remember it.
It was a long time ago, but like they just went completely off the radar.
Yeah. Really? I also think I realised you carry on, Ash, then I'll go with what I'm trying to say.
No, so good. It was like, but that's the thing with labels that you've got to take into consideration as well, is that like, do you know if you don't read into this contract, which I know people do, but like they're very clever with how they word things, and they can literally like they can own you.
Yeah, it's mental. Like
I've
heard numerous horror stories about certain people who haven't, like, even like with bigger record labels where you would expect that like lawyers would look it over for the musician and stuff like that, where that you've heard like ridiculous horror stories of people just being fucked over by their record label just because they haven't read something in their contract.
Yeah, like you need to go in and do that. Like, luckily, because obviously we've got PRS, which is where a lot of our outside merch income comes from. Because turns out, if anyone listening, if you're in a band, get a fucking PRS fucking account. It's like 80 quid a year, which might seem steep to you, but the fact that you can log anytime your songs are played, you get money for it. Anytime that you play a gig, you have to go and self-report it. You get like so much money from it. Like, I'm not talking like loads, but in like,
but compared to not doing it,
6 months, I think we got like 80 quid
Hmm.
just in our account.
Yeah, and that pays for the PRS license.
Yeah, like 80
Straight
quid
away.
in our account for playing our songs live. And that varies depending, the amount of money you get varies depending on what kind of venues you play. Like when we play like smaller, because every venue has a PRS license because they play music. That is, and if they don't, that's illegal. But that's how it works.
Yeah.
So like compared to like, because I looked it up on the royalties report we got for 2019. Basically, like when we played a couple of smaller venues, like in Notts, for instance, like Tap, and when the Maze was a thing, we get like a couple of quid per track. But like then when we played like Rescue Rooms, which is a bigger venue, we got like a $5 a song. So we played what 5-6 songs in a half-hour set.
Yeah, definitely worth doing.
That's 30 quid. Like it's definitely worth doing. It's one of those things that like people need to be aware of, because that's where some of our supplemental income comes from. And obviously the radio playing stuff we've got recently for all the Clarity stuff, we'll get money off that. Not much, but it's something.
Speaking of releasing and stuff like that, I've got another sort of question for Ash. With Vantablack being fairly new, and obviously you guys have only released a couple singles, what has it been like being able to essentially release music but without the chance of like touring it or promoting it, or
Dude, do you
essentially
know, the funny thing about Vantablack is that Vantablack was never intended to be a band. What it was is like, so like in the middle of 2019, I'd done it for a lot of years anyway, but I started sending out more rap videos of myself onto Facebook. And Roy, who's the guitarist, is probably one of the biggest nu metal fans I've ever met in my life.
Oh yeah.
And he had this friend called Chris who he used to jam with, and Chris had all these like nu metal riffs, and he had like probably like 6 or 7 songs worth of riffs, and Chris was like, do you want to just like turn these into songs? So Roy turned them into songs, and basically when I started sending all these rap videos out, he messaged me one day saying, dude, I've got this entire album of nu metal songs, do you want to put some lyrics to them? And I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, why not? And when we started jamming, like the first song that we did, weirdly enough, was actually the music video that we've just done recently. That was the first song at the end of 2019 that we actually properly did together. And we was like, should we just get in a practice room and jam? And we did, and that was literally all it was intended to be. It was just intended to be a little bit of fun. And that was kind of it. But then once the first lockdown hit, granted, Swan didn't split up until the September, but we knew that it was going to be a thing. We knew this was going to be our last release. So I was kind of like, well, what can I do with my time for a bit? Because I wasn't too bothered about like jumping straight back into another touring band again. So I was like, what can I do with my time? And when Vanta was established was in the June, which was obviously when we released the debut video. And it's a weird one because in terms of, the standard of what you go for is that, you release a single, you release another single, and you can start gigging, you can go out and get content, you can do promo. And So it's been a bit of a difficult one on that front because I haven't really had a lot of promo to push. Like I haven't had a lot of content
exactly,
to push.
yeah.
I'm kind of there's pulling things out of thin air, and then there's physically like making something from nothing. And that's essentially what we're doing at the moment. And like the lockdowns just haven't helped at all. So it's been a bit of a weird one because it's like I really want to push this a lot now. And it's only like sort of happened in the last sort of 6 months that we really wanted to push it. Because we got a really good reaction from the debut single, and it was cool, and it was.
I fucking really enjoyed it, man. Like I'm digging this stuff.
Yeah, because that was like one of the funniest things is like when we were just like when we messaged Enso, and then like you emailed me back. I was like, oh yeah, there's this guy on Enso who's looking for bands to take on. I'll message him. He's like, oh, it's Ashley Currie. Like for me, like the name ring a bell because I knew you were in like Sworn and like I'd seen your name about, and I probably may have chatted to you previously, but one of those things. And then Alex was like, "Yo, Ash, like, yeah, have you heard his band single?" And we were all like, "Alex's," and he put it on. We were like, "No, this is pretty sick."
So like, it was to be honest, it was just a weird one because like I said, it was never intended to be a full-time band thing. It was never really meant to be anything more than just like the four of us jamming in a practice room for a bit. And like we kind of like we sent off because obviously like I do production anyway, and a lot of us in the band have all got like home studios and stuff.
Yeah.
So we did it all organically. We did it all ourselves, and we just sent it off to get mixed and mastered. And the first single that came back was that debut single. And as soon as that came back, it didn't sound anything like that when we initially did it. We kind of like when it came to the pre-pro, we kind of like swapped it all around and like added the choruses in and changed up some of the screaming sections, so it was a bit more of a nu metal vibe. And when it came back and we listened to it, it was like it was like in a non-big headed way. It was kind of like fuck, like this is good. Like this is really really sick.
This is
and it just like it sounded completely different to what we initially intended it to be, and because of that and because of the response that we got, and like even just the video itself, like I found the location whilst I was out on a walk one day, and it's an industrial estate training center near my house.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
it's like old abandoned place, and because it all turned out so well, and like, but we did zero PR for that entire video. And overnight, it got 10K
nowhere for us. Yeah, like
in I think it was like just over 24 hours, it got like 10K views. But we did no PR for it, and that's the reason why it surprised me so much. I was like, "Whoa, this is a bit different. Like this, it's not. I've not experienced that before." So it was kind of cool to have zero PR, zero push on something, and for it to blow up like it did. So I was like, fuck it, let's see how far it can go."
I can vibe with that because for some reason like nu metal's become like the new thing.
Yeah,
like
I think hacktivists have definitely hacktivists are a big pioneer of like the new style nu metal kind of thing.
The reason why nu metal is coming into play again is because like everybody's I solemnly believe that everybody's searching for the like new sound. Everybody's always searching for this new sound. But I feel like the new sound is the old sound, man. It's like it's the sounds that just aren't happening anymore. And it's like it's the old school nu metal, the old school metalcore wave. It's all like obviously, if you guys have noticed, like over the last load of years, like metalcore has been such a big thing, and it's been such a pioneer genre for so long.
And now I feel like
now I feel like nu metal's coming back in that fashion because it's just the new sound. It's just the in thing at the time. Like it was slam for a bit, and then it was beat down, and then death metal bands came about, and then it was metalcore the last 4 or 5 years, and now it's like nu metal's coming back.
I think the thing with the whole nu metal thing is that I don't really think nu metal's given the credit it was back in day
at the time. Yeah,
because everyone's like, oh yeah, nu metal, like, and then people only go to like Korn, Limp Bizkit, and Slipknot. First of all, like. Slipknot weren't a nu metal band. They just got thrown in with them lot. Yeah. Slipknot was something else entirely.
They got thrown in there because they did like the DJ thing. And they did like
if you think about it at that particular moment in the time, like I think the reason why it wasn't given as much time of day is because nu metal came out of nowhere. It's like grunge. Like nu metal came out of nowhere. It was really, really popular in the early 2000s, and then it kind of like fizzled out for a bit once the old school like deathcore and metalcore started to come into play. And I think like that was the reason why it wasn't ever given the height that it deserved.
Yeah, because like, there was so many like really sick new metal bands. Like I pure rate Mudvayne. Like, Mudvayne, like, although they had that one song Dig, which is like a bit like ding, like that's a complete banger. But they had so many other albums and stuff after that, especially when they dropped the whole like OTT makeup, and a lot of the songs are like really fucking good, and like a lot of people aren't aware of that. So I think it's good that like new metal was something that happened, but I think everyone really focused on the fact that they had like DJ decks and that was it. Whereas like Korn didn't do that. Korn just did what they did. I wouldn't necessarily call them new metal either, but because that Korn did something different, it was like, we just got to fucking lob it in here. The only band that's like probably the most new metal ever is fucking Limp Bizkit. And Limp Bizkit do have bangers. And
I'd say Linkin Park. Linkin Park definitely have that.
Yeah,
like, and Papa Roach as well. Like Infest by Papa Roach was definitely a massive new metal anthem. And even like, you know, for example, like the way that I see like new metal fizzled out as well is like, can you guys remember the band Crazy Town?
I hate Crazy Town.
So we actually I've actually supported Crazy Town.
No way.
And yeah, man. So we supported Crazy Town in Northampton one time. And this was kind of like this just goes to prove exactly how fizzled out of a genre. So this was in 2018, and it was Crazy Town, us, and Carcer City on this bill, right?
Actually, mine is Crazy Town because they're shit.
Weirdest lineup. weirdest lineup I've ever played, right? So Crazy Town played as obviously the headliners. We were the opener, and Carcer City were the main support. And basically we were playing with him, and like obviously there was just like loads of mums and dads and like, you know, people that were kind of like a lot older than us in the room at the time. And then, you know, Crazy Town had played a load of these random songs that they've got, and like the ones that nobody heard, and then they played Butterfly as the very last song. And even like the vocalist came out and he was just like, right, fuck it, you know, we're gonna play the song that you all know now. And like then everybody went crazy. But like their entire set was just mums and dads just kind of sat there like almost like vibing a bit to the songs that they were playing and like, you know, bopping their head. And then Butterfly comes on and everybody loses the shit. And it's like that just kind of goes to show how fizzled out that entire thing was, because it's like they only go back to the roots. Like everybody thinks of Linkin Park and it's like Hybrid Theory. Well, yeah, Hybrid Theory was a sick album, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But Linkin Park had so many good albums.
Yeah.
Their last album, like One More Light, was such a banger of an album.
Yeah, like I dropped off Linkin Park later on because I got into like death metal and stuff, and I went like super elitist for a bit, which I regret highly. Don't be an elitist, don't be a gatekeeper. Looking at you, man, on the YouTube comments. I don't know why I point to the camera because this is an audio podcast, but
don't worry, we appreciate it.
I was going to say you can't. Like, it's good that people can't physically see you at the moment because you can't say that you're a death metal elitist with those cat ears.
I used to be a death metal elitist. Now look at me. I've got bright neon pink cat ears. I've got a beard. One of the pretty...
and actually, do you know what? Weirdly enough, you probably are filling the elitist death metal stereotype.
Yeah, to be fair.
All that you're missing now is the green monster in the black trench coat. That's all you need.
The thing that people don't understand is Cannibal Corpse's first album is the best death metal album ever made. And if you don't agree with that, you don't like metal.
Weirdly enough,
I don't agree with that.
Weirdly enough, I actually went to college with a guy that was kind of like not those words exactly, but he was very much of the opinion that like all these old school metal bands and death metal bands, like if you don't sound like that, then you're not metal.
The thing is, like me and Connor actually used to hang with a guy who, when deathcore became a thing, there was like bands like I Declare War and Disfiguring the Goddess. He got me into them, but he was such an elitist. Instead of saying, "Oh, they're deathcore bands," he made up genres for them.
Okay.
So instead of deathcore,
what? Oh God, there's so many different.
Like, I Declare War
variations of it.
I Declare War is a slam or a deathcore band, and Disfiguring the Goddess are a slam band. Big up, Big Chocolate. The fact that it's made by a band called Big Chocolate as its DJ name says everything you need to know. But he used to say, no, they were just like a brutal slamming death metal. I'm like, no, it's. Then when the years went on, I was still listening to these bands, and I'm like, Oh, it's deathcore.
Yeah.
Core bands. That naughty word that people
Naughty word.
don't like. It's the same thing that's happened to us. Like when we were main support for Mark the Cloud, which caused a lot of controversy on Facebook. You know who you are. You never came to that gig, you fucking keyboard warrior. I challenged you. We got like a load of flack for being main support for Mark Defiled. There's like, oh, why is this metalcore band supporting main support for Mark Defiled? I was like, because Mark Defiled are also a core band, so suck my dick. We had a nice time. So did the lads in Mark Defiled. And so did the crowd. But yeah, there were some people at that show who came up to me afterwards like, oh, I don't really like metalcore, but you guys are really good. I'm like, yeah, because we're good.
No matter what you call it.
The genre has
support. Elitists. I've always found that elitists are only elitists on screen.
Oh, 100%.
No, we've met elitists in real life. We've met elitists.
Have you really?
Because the same guy and some of his friends, me and Connor were camped with the Bloodstock the year that Lamb of God headlined.
Okay.
And there were some people actively on Facebook and stuff going, Lamb of God can't headline Bloodstock because they're too mainstream.
Well, they said,
I was just about to say, speaking of like mainstream bands that have headlined Bloodstock, like how much controversy came around when Parkway.
I was literally about to say the same thing.
And
like, so many people kicked off.
100% probably had the best stage production that Bloodstock's ever seen.
100%.
And they probably increased Bloodstock's ticket sales by like 100%.
Yeah. And then the best thing is, the actual black metal band headliner of the second stage at Bloodstock didn't go on till after Parkway finished. So you had two choices: either be a little bitch and sit back at camp, or watch Parkway Drive, and then go see your black metal band. Because I ended up seeing both. Because I was
best option, really.
Yeah, I had a really nice time.
Yeah.
Because I'm not an arsehole. And this is why every time it comes around to the Melt to the Masses, our main campaign drive is hashtag make Bloodstock core again. And then we wonder why we never win. Because we're actively trying to annoy all these people. The thing is, like, we've played with death metal bands, we've played with deathcore bands, we've played with slam bands, hardcore bands, true metal bands, and everyone likes us. So I think the key issue is to take your head out your ass and just enjoy. Because like I used to be an elitist, and then I was like mad depressed because of some stuff going on in my life at the time. And then I came home from like my shitty dead end first job at like 11 o'clock at night after working 12 hours, put on Kerrang just to maybe feel something. And then A Day to Remember's All I Want came on. And I was just like, oh, this is so posy. This is what I need in my life. And then from that moment on, I was just like, fuck it.
Yeah, that's actually that's actually a pretty good topic to say. What was that one album? I'm going to say album because it's like a bit more out there a bit, because then you can kind of pinpoint. But what was that one album that kind of changed your entire direction in life?
Ooh.
I've had a few. I've had a few because, like, obviously it's been, Ashes the Wake for Connor, definitely.
Ashes of the Wake, 100%. I remember being sat in a car in Scotland in a car park as my parents were walking up and down a beach, I think. It was just me and my brother sat in a car. And he put that CD on, and that was just fucking, oh shit. Never really had anything like it before.
Mine was actually Sempiternal. And I know that's a very, I know it's a very cliche thing to say, but the reason why it's Sempiternal is like, there's a much deeper reason why. So the reason why is because I feel that Sempiternal was the album that obviously when Bring Me kind of obviously altered and changed and was going into a bit of a lighter sound.
No, I agree. I think Sempiternal's when Bring Me really came into their own.
But that in itself was like, I always stand by the sign that they're not one of the first to do it, but I always feel that Bring Me are one of those bands that really kind of stepped out of the comfort zone and was like, do you know what? We're known for this particular sound. Fuck that. Let's go into something else and we're going to do something different. And they've completely blown up and become one of the biggest bands in the world currently. Now, that to me,
genre, they're just biggest band full stop.
Exactly. And that to me speaks more levels than like that changed my entire direction on music, because it's like that to me was like, you can physically be in whatever genre you want, but if you want to switch up, do it, and it could be the biggest thing.
The main thing about that I've argued with a lot of people about is the reason why it happened is because everyone hated Bring Me the Horizon for being a metal band. So then obviously they went into something a bit different, hashtag a bit more poppy, quote unquote. But then people then they got massive, and people are like, oh, I can't believe they did it because they sold out and went pop. It's like, well, you can't be mad at them for doing that, because when they were in your scene and still being massive, like
you were slagging them off.
Everyone was slagging them off, and then people got mad at them for doing for changing a bit and doing what they want to do.
Yeah,
fucking.
I think Bring Me one of the cleverest bands going as well.
Yeah,
because of
and now, because when they came back on their last tour, they dropped the deathcore medley halfway through the set. So you can imagine like all these like teenagers going, "Yeah, I really love That's the Spirit. It's my favorite Bring Me the Horizon album. Haven't looked back at what else Bring Me have done." And halfway through the set, like, "All right, this song's called Chelsea Smile." Yeah. Like that is a power move, and I've joked that we'll do that at some point just for the piss take.
For me,
it's when they drop "Pray for Plagues" at Wembley Stadium.
Yeah, when they drop "Pray for Plagues," and it's just like
absolute highlight.
Yeah, ridiculous. For me, speaking of albums, I think it's got to be, well, wasn't the album, but These Colours That Run Architects, because I was kind of listening to like heavy bands at the time and like some metal stuff, and we were at a band practice for one of my previous bands before. My guitarist said, "Oh, the new Architects is out." I was like, "Oh, I've never really heard of these guys." Checked it out, and like These Colours Don't Run, I was like, "Yeah, no, this is the stuff I'm listening to now." Like, because it was that fucking good. And then when the whole album came out, I was like, "Yeah, Architects is so sick," and I'm just gonna like be. I'd never really listened to like really technical, like complex stuff before. And then Architects came along, and like they are so ridiculously complex that I just loved it.
I've had a few, because obviously we've established that I used to be in a hair metal band. So obviously, like I first got into
those
like
were the days.
Those were the days. I first got into like I made and all like your generic metal stuff. And then I discovered like Wasp. And I went, I'm really into hair metal. Like I still am, and I still take a lot of influence from that with some of the stuff that we do in Wolves, because it's like OTT, mass grandeur. Oh, why else the fuck do we wear makeup and be ridiculous? Because it's what fucking Motley Crue did, and it fucking worked out for them all right. Not that I'm doing it as a business plan. I genuinely enjoy it.
It's just fun.
And we look sick, so who cares? And obviously everyone knows how much I love Kiss. I think one of the changing points is literally when I got into a Day to Remember, the Homesick album.
Yeah,
because that basically made me go.
Yeah, I think
do what I want and just be happy and just.
I think A Day to Remember were another one of those for me, because it was again that sort of bridge into like. I'm not going to say like bridge into heavier stuff, but that bridge between like the rock, the pop punk, and like also like the metal.
Yeah, it's like, so heavy stuff. You can write stuff that's like pretty average pop punk, and then slap some screaming, and then slap a breakdown in, and it slaps.
Yeah, like
it's the amalgamation of let's just combine things that we like, and it works, and then just have a nice time. And I think that's basically a lot of the stuff that we take with what we do with Wolves anyway. Because obviously Dan will probably come out in a minute and go, his life-changing thing was discovering Gold by Duran Duran.
I mean, you're not wrong.
It's Spandau Ballet. No, Gold's Spandau Ballet, isn't it?
Gold is Spandau Ballet.
Steve.
Duran Duran's more.
What is wrong with you?
A lot of things. Come on. Let's be real.
Yeah, he tried to steal Princess Fiona.
I'm running out of alcohol. I'm gonna have to go find some alcohol at some point, because I've just finished off the last of my whiskey.
I'd really like to hear what Dan's is, because I'm really intrigued by what it actually is.
What changed your direction in life? And
I don't know. Eating healthy, good sleep. I'll say that again. Eating healthy, good sleep.
No, things you actually
Ah.
do
Do any
do,
of that.
Dan.
You don't do any.
No, Dan, you're
Alright,
not meant to
alright,
say
Conor
what you
McGregor,
want to
calm
do.
down.
Oh, okay. Yeah, none of them things. What, first music thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. Thing that we were talking about.
What to do with guitar,
No,
like
just
metal?
like what was it like
Whatever,
a
like-
defining album for you, or single, or even just band?
MCR.
Yeah.
Definitely
Yeah.
MCR.
Good job.
Yeah,
Good
it was the
job.
first album I bought myself as well when I was about 15, which was a Black Parade because I hated the one before it. But
Okay. First of all, as an emo, 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge is
It's an
untouchable.
absolute banger of an album.
We've also now got it on record that Connor likes My Chemical Romance. This is recorded.
I do, yeah. I do. Remember you were talking about we were once elitists? Yeah.
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 What was
We
that
were
thing
once
at City that we were being dicks at?
Dead and
yeah, no,
Disappear are the best songs on that album.
Oh no, yeah, Disappeared like bangs. My favourite song of that album is Famous Last Words.
Oh, I don't really count that just because they released that got very big. Like I love the song,
Yeah.
but I've heard it way too many
A
times.
lot
Yeah,
of stuff did get overplayed, which
Yeah.
it can be a bad thing.
On the elitist topic, the worst thing that me and Connor have ever done is we were being far too
Regret
elitist.
this to my dying day.
We went to a show and it was Devil Driver, Behemoth as main support when they just released Evangelion.
We were there, Dan.
Yeah, we were there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was
You asked
Suicide
Sephora for a
Silence.
fiver.
I did.
and it was
No, I didn't.
Ticket. Suicide Silence,
Wasn't
Trigger the
Clegg.
Bloodshed, and another band that sounded exactly like Trigger the Bloodshed. I don't remember who they are, and I assume they don't.
Shit.
I assume they don't exist anymore. But we were so elitist, but because Suicide Silence were a deathcore band, we chose to not watch
We were
Suicide
being-
Silence's set.
Dickheads, yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, and it was Suicide Silence just
We
after they dropped the cleansing.
Yep.
The
yeah.
set list. The set list was
Mitch
just
Looker
bangers.
split his
Yeah.
trousers.
And me and Dan was that close to the front. He could have sucked him off.
I could have fucking sucked him
The
off.
weirdest
If we wasn't
lineup
under the
I've
age.
actually ever seen was Whitechapel, Chelsea Grin, and Ashley Alexandria.
Oof.
Yep.
Oof.
Yeah, it's like I had a similar thing like a couple of years later where I saw Whitechapel's main support for Trivium, and I watched Whitechapel, but I actively chose to not enjoy it as much because it's a deathcore band.
This
And
is
I'm
what we
just
call
like,
personal growth, because now I regret that massively.
yeah,
I fucking love Whitechapel.
Dan doesn't like Whitechapel. Oh,
I fucking love Whitechapel.
I have a tattoo with the motherfuckers for some reason.
Yeah?
Whitechapel, like one of the
For some
bands where
reason.
like I'm actually just like, this is things we could do because they like ultra deathcore. Then they started throwing in cleans, like it's stuff like that. I was like, the main issue is when you listen to stuff, just don't be a dickhead. Because one, you will miss out on nice things.
I mean, that was me majorly because I stopped listening to Metallica because I thought Megadeth were better, and then
don't like you, Dan.
even though
Imagine actually liking Megadeth.
Yeah. Somebody has to, I
Speaking-
suppose.
Speaking of elitism, Steve.
That's not even elitism. Because
I mean, when you were saying about that whole like album that changed your life, it was literally like revisiting like the top Megadeth albums from like the past. So obviously, like Rust in Peace, Countdown to
Short
Extinction were the ones that got them that most famous. But then obviously, like Killing in My Business and Peace Sells.
Is it the one with Dave Grohl as the singer?
Shut the fuck
Yeah.
up.
Sure. Okay.
the best thing about Megadeth is the fact
It's the one with the riff in it. You know the riff.
yeah, the riff.
Yeah, that riff.
That
The
one
best thing
riff.
about Megadeth is they used to be like a thrash metal band that me and Connor used to play with in our first band, and they were like super onto the thrash band, the Big Four.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
like, There was like a whole discussion about how impossible to play the intro to Holy War was. And I've always been like a pretty average guitarist. Like even though I basically 70% wrote our first EP myself on guitar. I've never been that good of a guitarist. And then this guy was just like, oh yeah, the intro for Holy Wars is like really difficult. And I have this thing, which is something very, very deeply wrong with me. Where if someone's just like, I can't do this, I'm going to be like, I'm going to do it just to spite you. I then went and found the tabs for Holy War.
That's how murder starts, Steve.
Yeah, it is. Granted, I don't really play guitar that much. And I don't really listen to Megadeth. I listened to Holy War a couple of times. I found the tabs and just went, diddly 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 diddly. And I was like, I messaged him, like, is this supposed to be hard?
Do you know what? Do you know in that scenario you could have done anything, but messaging the dude's like, this is supposed to be hard. It's like, wow.
That's the moment you become a dickhead.
That's when you physically get the title. That's when the certificate from the Queen comes
Just
through your door.
appears. Yeah.
I've got 3 of them.
Only 3.
This is like if you were to condense me as a person, it's like Steve actively pisses off people for no reason but his own entertainment.
Hello, me again. You may remember me from things like the intro to the previous episode and previous episodes. We decided it'd be a good idea to end the podcast here because it's reached a reasonable length, and after this point, everything descended into pure fucking chaos. So, well done for making it through. How did you find it? Still can't answer that because it's a podcast, like last time. So with that, we're going to go right to the very end so everyone can say goodbye.
Let's just call it. This has been shambolic.
We've all done it like a bollard.
Say bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Doodles, bitches.